here's the deal. The Hasidic masters say that, of course, I'm so aware of my body, you're so aware of your body, and we are therefore so aware of the threats that we feel are threatening our body, perceived and real. But what we don't have enough of is a vision of seeing somebody not just as a competitor, not just as a potential harm on the scarce resources that we're now talking about constantly in the world. You hear what I'm saying? We're so like, we see somebody who's right away, what can they take away from us? We imagine already what we just met the person and we're like seeing down the road, I like this guy, but I think that, you know, there's a friend of mine that's going to like, he's going to like more than me now, and I'm going to lose a good friend, and you start like, you know, start planning already. Okay, I got to make sure this guy doesn't meet my friend, you know. Now, it's natural to do that. But what we have to do is we have to have vision. We have to have vision of the soul. How do you see a soul? Use your imagination. Your imaginary eye can see a soul. Your actual eye cannot see a soul. Let's make it simple. I went to the Shiva tonight. That's why I was a few minutes late. It was so beautiful to listen to this person talk about their father. And just to share a little bit of what they said, I hope they forgive me because I think he said it in a eulogy, so people already heard it. He said that my father was a manual laborer, so his hands were very coarse, big, and very thick skin when you work with your hands. And he said when I would be sad or feel depressed, whatever was going on, my father would come and would put his hands on my head. And when he did that, I felt these very thick, coarse hands. It even hurt maybe a little bit. It's scrapey, like when you have those hands. It scrapes your fine, smooth cheek. He said, but when those hands were on my head, all of my sadness just melted into that hand. He said, now, when the day my father died, I had to do that, to try to do that for myself. It's awesome when I hear a child, not a young man, not so young, talking about his father like that. I can't help but have a tear come to my eye. And we all realize that a parent of a child is this awesome, beautiful relationship that there can be. It isn't always there. Parents don't always have that, but that's the ideal, that's the goal. Because a parent knows the child is knowing them. And you know what's one of the hardest things for a parent is to see their children fighting. Because the parent knows that both children have a little bit of each other. Genetically, their DNA is split. They share half the DNA. Something like that. So a parent can't help but be hurt. The children might see each other as competing for the parent's pension. That's how they see things. But a parent sees infinite love, or should see, that although there may only be finite resources, including the parent's time, the parent wishes to give everything to each child. For each child to feel infinitely loved, with as much love as there is in the universe to give to each child. Again, does it always come out like that? Not necessarily. Take that vision. Say, even though we know where we came from biologically and all reproductively and all that type of stuff, but if you now open your eyes to another reality, a parallel level of reality, a spiritual reality, which is that we are all God's children. And if you want to know, there's a Kabbalah textbook that explains the physiological relationship between God and us. It's not like Christianity, Immaculate Conception is different. As with the Olamot and the Sefirot, the nature of the soul. The soul is, as I said before, the soul is everything that's above is below. All of the supernal worlds, the 4 letters of God's name are 4 stages of spiritual consciousness that are within you. Are the 4 levels of your soul. I don't know if I'm going to have time to teach all those 4 right now, but it's not. The idea is to see, to begin to see, to envision God as a Father. It's a beautiful teaching I learned the other week in Shar HaEmunah V'Shar HaYichud by the Mittel Rebbe of Chabad, where he says some awesome Torahs about faith. He says, what is it like to have faith? He says, imagine a child who has a parent who they're just so in love with. The parent loves them like crazy, and they love their parent. And then the parent wants to test them. And the parent hides. And some children will say, I don't see my father, I don't see my mother, they're dead, they're gone. And then eventually they'll even forget that they even had a father and mother. And if they were raised in a certain way with certain principles, they'll say they're irrelevant because the parent is no longer here. I have to do what I feel like doing. I have to face the world alone. But the parent is actually there, but the parent isn't hiding. The parent wants to see what the child does. Will the child look? How hard will the child look? And if the child looks, the parent may not reveal himself or herself completely, but he'll create a hint. Well, the child will think that they saw the parent from the back, the behind of the parent, like their parent running ahead of them, but they can't be sure because they didn't see their face. But it'll give them hope. And then it'll do a mitzvah and they'll feel so connected. So the Mittel Rebbe of Chabad says that when we do mitzvot, a lot of times we don't really know what it is that we're doing. We don't know, we don't see God clearly. That time was, and it isn't for most of us anymore. We're in exile. We're in a state of diminished consciousness. And when we do most mitzvot, we don't even know what it is that we're doing. We don't necessarily feel it. But if you're faithful and you do it, and you believe that there's a chance that there is a God, and I want to see Him, maybe you can see a little bit of God back, so to speak. Maybe you can feel that feeling that you can't see Him clearly, but I think He's still there. We read so much, but do we begin to visualize what we read? We're always studying. One of the greatest things about being a Jew is we have so many beautiful texts. We have the Tanakh. What beautiful things are in the Tanakh. Mind-blowing. I don't need drugs. All I need is Tanakh. I don't need Shakespeare. All I need is Tanakh. And it's not just because of its literary value. The Zohar says that people who read Tanakh for literary value, there are other works that have equal, maybe even greater literary value. It's a metaphor. And it contains this great light inside it. And then I have the Gemara, and then I have all of the Mefarshim of the Gemara, all the Midrashim, the Sifra, the Sifri, all the Medrash Rabbah, the Bereshis Rabbah, Shemos Rabbah, Ikra, all these mind-blowing things.